NBA expert Ric Bucher. Yesterday, Rick, you saw Marcellus and I conducted a wide-ranging interview with NBA great Isiah Thomas. Isiah had some very interesting things to say about Michael Jordan in the Last Dance documentary. We started out the interview just basically asking Isiah what he thinks of MJ. We've heard what MJ thinks of him. He called Isiah an a-hole and said he hated him. Listen to what Isiah said he thinks of Michael Jordan.
I'm going to call timeout on the feud because really, I wasn't fighting him. I was winning all the time. I was winning the majority of the time. So why am I mad at him?
All right, so Isiah basically says he has no concerns or no problem with Michael Jordan. Rick, are you buying that?
Not for a second. First of all, in the entire interview, he found about a half dozen different ways to slice and dice Michael Jordan. Beginning with the comment simply, why would I be mad at him? I beat his ass all the time. Why would I be mad at him? When we were both healthy, I was the better player. I wasn't competing with him. I was competing with Magic and Bird. Essentially, he's saying, I can't be mad at somebody. He doesn't even deserve to sit at my table, is what he was saying. Now, on top of that, he said in the course of the interview that he learned from The Last Dance that maybe Michael had more to do with him not being on the Dream Team than he had previously thought. And we know that Isiah has a problem with not being on the Dream Team. Therefore, it stands to reason that if he has a problem with not being on the Dream Team and he now realizes that Michael had more to do with that factor than he previously thought, he, by deduction, has to have a problem with Michael Jordan. And trust me, and you know him, Jason, anybody comes at Isiah Thomas the way Michael Jordan came at Isiah Thomas in The Last Dance, there's no way that Isiah Thomas is okay with that.
I say he has the smallest problem that you can have with another person. More, you're annoyed, irritated by them versus disturbed by them. This is Michael Jordan being a fly at Isiah's picnic. Not a bee, a fly, where Isiah's just like, man, move. And it's because Michael Jordan is taking things out of context and smearing Isiah Thomas's name. I understand exactly where Isiah Thomas is coming from, because Isiah is sitting there with a healthy mindset that his identity is not wrapped up in his ideas and his competition and who he was as a basketball player. Like, that's not his full identity. Whereas Michael Jordan will make a handshake a competition. Isiah's like, dude, when I put the jersey on, my job is to whoop your ass, and I did it a lot, and then after that, I'm good. But you're taking what we did on that court with our jerseys on and now taking it to when we got our T-shirt or our suits on. Why are you doing that? Every athlete knows that you're supposed to hit a switch. It turns it on and it turns it off, and not at your pleasure. It's by the participation in sport or participation in life. Isiah comes off like, look, I'm not happy that he keeps talking about me in this way, in this light, but trust me, I get sleep at night every single night.
Listen, Rick, here's where I certainly agree with Marcellus. There's levels to having a problem with somebody. And there's a big problem, and then there's small problems that you just keep moving on and you don't think about them on a day-to-day. And that's where I think Isiah actually is. And it's sometimes people can get to that place where, look, I'm just going to be the bigger man. It is clear, I think, and this isn't what Isiah told me. This is my read of the situation. Isiah, to me, clearly is like, man, Jordan has some issues. Because if he's got this kind of hostility with me 30 years later about a handshake, that he's talking about he hates me and, calling me an a-hole on TV. And I know Michael's saying that's what I thought about him then. But, you should have clarified that on TV. And so I just think Isiah is really in a spot where he's like, yes, this is annoying what Michael's doing, but clearly there are some issues with Michael that I just don't have. Michael holds on to grudges. Michael operates from a place of anger where after, the competition's over in our basketball career, that was 30 years ago. I'm just not in that place. And so I do think Isiah, because of the Dream Team deal, has a small problem with Michael Jordan. But in comparison to the problem that Michael seems to have with Isiah, that's nothing.
I'll agree with you to this point. If Isiah truly had a big problem with Michael, he would have never sat for The Last Dance. He would have refused to be any part of that. So I agree with that. But very slyly, and there's a reason that one of his nicknames is the baby-faced assassin, is Isiah will come on and he's still competing too, because he's telling us all the things that the Detroit Pistons represented and that they're not being recognized to the level that they should by Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, or the NBA in general. So that competition between them, whether it's they're wearing a uniform or not, that's still ongoing. And I dare say that's why Isiah did The Last Dance. And by the way, it's one of the questions that I would have loved to ask. So why did you do it? Why did you go on? Why did you participate in this thing, not knowing what the end result was going to look like? And I believe it's in part because Isiah still has a message that he wants to get out there too.
I hear you, Rick. I just think that Isiah sat down because he's in a healthy place. And he's like, look, we had our wars. We helped build each other up. I have tremendous respect for him, not only as an opponent and player, but also as a businessman and the icon he's become. Respect to that. Yeah, I'll sit down and talk glowingly about Michael Jordan because you already know built into me talking good about Jordan is that I'm talking great about Isiah because I was better than Jordan. Or in my mind, our team certainly was better than Jordan's in our healthy times playing. So if you're Isiah, you really don't think you have anything to lose. And who is to fathom that he still is holding on to this grudge with that type of grip? And then he would not only do it, but he would continue to replay the same grudge. I think Isiah got caught off guard, really got sideswiped by MJ's mindset and MJ's feelings towards it versus where he was. So I would have done the same thing if I were Isiah. Sat down, gave him his props.
Yeah, I think Isiah sat down with the interview because, one, it's like he knows there's a narrative about him and the Pistons that was going to be portrayed in the documentary, and he wanted his say-so to put some spin on that. You got to remember, what's left on the cutting room floor? I'm sure they asked Isiah a plethora of questions, and a small percentage of it actually made the documentary. And so I don't blame Isiah for he knew the thing was going to be popular. He presented himself in a really classy way. And so I think the documentary actually a good look for Isiah. But let's move on because here's one thing that Isiah provided context on yesterday that moved me. And again, I'm someone that knows Isiah well. I remember all of this once my memory is pushed. Isiah made a point about what led to them not shaking the Bulls' hands after getting swept in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Before that, they won, I think it was after Game 3. Michael Jordan called us undeserving champions and said that, we were bad for basketball and everything else. Now, we had a long, hard journey to become champions. We had to fight through Boston. We had to fight through LA. And we had a lot of ups and downs, just like every champion does. And we felt that we deserved our championship and worked hard to get it. And to have him say that we were undeserving, that really did cut, and it cut deep.
All right, I think this leads to a real question for me, and I was glad he reset this. To me, what was worse, Isiah and Bill Laimbeer not shaking hands, or before that game, Michael Jordan taking a major shot at the Detroit Pistons, undeserving and bad for basketball. Marcellus, or I'm sorry, we'll start with Rick. Rick, what was worse, the handshake or the shot taken before the game?
For me, without question, it's what Michael said, because he is delegitimizing their championship. And he's saying, for me, the handshake is, I don't respect you, Michael, or I don't respect you, the Bulls. For Michael to say what he said is, nobody respects you guys. You're not legitimate champions, and you're actually a deterrent when it comes to the game itself. So if we're talking about which one was the greater diss or which was far harsher, without question, what Michael said and did, because he has to know in his heart how hard it is, no matter what year, no matter what the circumstance, to become a champion. You never become a champion by accident.
I'm with you, Rick. It's saying that they were undeserving of being champions. I mean, good Lord, what kind of God complex do you have where you think that someone that you can't beat actually doesn't even deserve what they accomplished? As my teammates in Jacksonville used to always say, go get it with your muscle. If you want something, hey, we both started this season 0-0. If you couldn't get it, you didn't get it with your muscle. That's it. Let it go. But Jordan wants to go down on that one. And not only does he feel that way, he hires a production crew to double down on the same wrong, ill feeling. How can you not legitimize what they did? You actually, through the wars and battles with them, sharpen your knife to get to the point where you guys were dynastic. But to not give props just to kind of elevate yourself, bad look, man. It's those comments.
Yeah, total agreement with you all. And I just want people to understand where Isiah is coming from in this. Detroit, they're representing Detroit. If you know anything about the city of Detroit, it has a lot of pride because it doesn't have a lot of economic high-end achievement. It's a depressed city and area. And so when Michael Jordan takes that kind of shot at a black city, and Isiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, or the Dennis Rodman, they're the major representation, Bill Laimbeer, the major representation of that city and what that city can achieve. And then you, from a very elitist point of view, say that's not legitimate, you're undeserving, you're Detroit, you're basically bad for basketball. They had every damn right to be offended, and it doesn't excuse what they did, but Isiah has apologized for the lack of handshake. Has Michael Jordan said a damn word about taking a dump on what they accomplished? And then to further delegitimize Isiah Thomas, because you got a grudge about being frozen out in an all-star game when you're a rookie, you hold him off the damn dream team. You try to diminish this man's entire career. Of course, to me, what Isiah did was much worse. Rick, we're going to stop here and move on because it's a perfect segue to our next segment. Everybody stay right where you are. We're going to come back and discuss whether you feel